Phelous. Now, if I can recall correctly, I first saw the guy when he crossed over with the start. I nearly dropped my mic. I first saw him in the Nostalgia Critic crossover review of Child's Play, and I saw Child's Play 2 and 3, and it was quite a crossover to watch. And I saw a few of his reviews. I really enjoyed it. And there's some reviews that I regretted watching. Like the Hostel review, because I don't watch all of his reviews due to the fact that some reviews are gory and have zombies. But some stuff like Crocodile and Halloween, they're pretty good. And I haven't seen any reaction videos of Phelous. Well, there's a couple, but they're not very popular. And I figured, why not just give this guy a shot? Even if it's not a horror film, then. But,
To celebrate the 10th anniversary of Phelous in the movies, I'm going to cover what really might be the most ambitious crossover event in history, at least as far as getting all these different franchises involved. Cartoon All-Stars to the rescue.
So I'll catch you later. Like that Guess I'm allergic.
And a good excuse is something you never outgrow.
That's my complexion.
When you pals say, let's get wrecked.
Let's not a bitch, that respect.
There's a lot of things said about Cartoon All-Stars to the rescue, but you gotta give it the fact that it really did stick in the minds of most of the kids that saw it back in the day. Maybe not for the reasons the creators really wanted, but it was hard to forget a crossover of most of the popular cartoon series from the time. Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue aired in 1990 on a lot of the major networks in at least 9 different countries. The VHS tape came out around the same time and was supposed to be a free rental, though I definitely recall places that were still charging regular rental fees for it. Which is especially funny given the fact that it says right on the side of the box that it's supposed to be free. I bet some places put a sticker over that. The first time I recall seeing Cartoon All-Stars was during school, which was kind of like, yeah, well, they're trying to teach me something, but this is still getting to watch cartoons during class, and not just some cheapy crap cartoons. These are characters you actually wanted to see. The special is financed by McDonald's and the Ronald McDonald Children's Charities, which is why a commercial for the organization featuring some kids singing Love Lifted Me is on the tape. Not just one time either, it plays at the beginning and during a weird break in the ending credits. Like, the credit roll seems like it's over, then the ad plays again, and then more credits. Which I'm really upset about! Or not. I guess it's not that big a deal. This was a pretty big deal getting all these different properties together in one special, though. This required getting the rights from 9 different license holders to have the cast they used in Cartoon All-Stars. And while we have gotten crossovers with some of these properties again, like in the TMNT Ghostbusters comic, there's no Garfield in there, and I kind of doubt these 3 will ever cross over again. But it's getting to see some of these kind of unlikely characters join together on something that makes it really hard for me to hate this special. Like, I don't think there's going to be any other time where Alf annoys Bugs Bunny while Tigger watches. Or Michelangelo dancing around with Louie, Dewey, and Huey. Or Dewey trying to run over a kid in a roller coaster, making him fall by an evil Huey-themed ride. And then him falling down a drain, which leads to a straw from Miss Piggy. Man, how do they come up with this stuff?
Must be on drugs.
Well, I do find it rather interesting that there's never been another crossover like this attempted. maybe it's kind of messy behind the scenes bringing all this together. So from Disney, we had Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Apparently, though, Scrooge's nephews were originally going to be Mickey Mouse, Donald, and Goofy. But I guess Disney wouldn't want those characters involved in a silly crossover with anything. It seems likely, though, that Disney at the time decided they shouldn't put their A-list characters in this drug special, and that's why we got the Ducks instead. Even though Roy Edward Disney was the executive producer on this, and the tape was distributed by Disney's distribution division, Buena Vista. And the VHS tapes themselves were apparently provided by Kodak, which is the best thing they've done since the Colorkins.
Meet the Kodak Colorkin toys. Get them free by mail when you buy these Kodak products.
Anyway, we also have the Muppet Babies versions of Kermit, Miss Piggy, and Gonzo from Henson Associates. Garfield
Why the
was
hell are they
licensed
here
from
anyways?
United Feature Syndicate, and there was a rumor going for quite a while that Jim Davis himself was not consulted over Garfield's use in the special and threatened to sue, and that's why it stopped airing. But Mark Evanier, who was the head writer for Garfield and Friends, stated that that was not true and that Jim Davis gave the okay on whatever had to be done in regards to the special. And the reason for the limited run was that was part of the agreement with all the different copyright holders. And I think that explanation makes a lot more sense than Jim Davis threatening to sue this anti-drug show, which was okayed by the copyright holders. Though, I do know that Garfield likes his catnip, so he certainly does not practice what he preaches in this special. Also, another side note here, this isn't the first crossover Garfield ever appeared in, as the first time he was ever actually animated was in a 1980 special talking about comics from the time called The Fantastic Funnies. Moving on, the anti-field, Alf, was from Alien Productions.
Alien Productions.
Slimer, of course, was from Columbia Pictures, and by 1990 we were well into the Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters version of the show, which is probably why he's the only Ghostbusters character to appear. Which is a shame, because I think it would have been hilarious to have Egon in there talking about the chemical makeup of some drugs or something. And I know I definitely would not have wanted Coulier Vankman in there, and that would have been highly inappropriate, what with him being all high on fluffernutters. That would have been really weird too, considering Lorenzo Music is of course voicing Garfield here. So, you know what? I take back what I said. I'd love to have heard what Garfield would have said to Coulier Vankman.
As an actor, I have natural talent.
We're in big trouble, Odie. The show is called Pet Search, not Dummy Search.
The Chipmunks were from Bagdasarian Productions, and the Smurfs were from Hanna-Barbera. Hey, if Hanna-Barbera was involved, how come they didn't have any of their other properties in this, like Scooby-Doo? Really, though, would that have been any worse than having the surfer dude Stoner Turtle, Michelangelo?
Your brain must be, like, really messed up.
So, yeah, TMNT was from Mirage, and wait a second, where's Michelangelo on the cover? They left my favorite Ninja Turtle off the cover? You know what, screw it, I'm gonna go do some drugs. I don't believe in nothing no more. My best guess for why Ninja Turtles got shafted on the cover was this was probably around the time there was some complaining about some of the violence in TMNT. I don't know for sure on that, but what I do know is Smurfette is definitely not in this special, yet for some reason she steals the spot on the cover for one of the characters who actually has a bigger moment in it. And of course, our last licensed characters, Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, were Warner Brothers. And of all things, Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue was the first production where these characters were not voiced by Mel Blanc. He had passed away in '89, so this was the debut of Jeff Bergman as Bugs and Daffy. What a bizarre starting point this is to take over such iconic characters. Speaking of taking over iconic characters, Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue marked only the second time Jim Cummings provided the voice for Tigger. He had only done it for one segment of an episode of The New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh before this, King of the Beasties.
Ah, this show.
The original voice of Tigger, Paul Winchell, would still voice the character on and off after this, with Jim Cummings eventually taking over the role. And this was only the third project where Jim Cummings was the voice of Pooh, too.
The latest battle in the war on drugs is now being waged in cartoon land.
Well, geez, when you put it that way, it sounds kind of silly.
The show tells the story of a 14-year-old drug abuser saved with the help of Bugs Bunny, Garfield, and some other familiar cartoon characters.
Bugs, Garfield, and the rest, is it? I don't know if you should be lumping those two together when they famously didn't get along.
That special has drawn praise from President Bush.
Well, of course it did. Bush Sr. intros the thing.
Some of your favorite cartoon characters will help you understand how drugs and alcohol can ruin your life. So watch the program.
Well, I wasn't gonna watch it, but I guess I will to see if the cartoons validate your crazy notion that drugs are bad.
Talk about it with your family.
Wow, that sure was cool seeing all those cartoon characters together. What'd you think of the anti-drug message, son? The what? When this first aired in different countries, there were different world leaders from the time introing it for that region. I guess there was a Canadian one with the Prime Minister from back then, Brian Mulroney, though I have no recollection of ever seeing that. I only recall the intro from The Bushes on the VHS. The one other intro I've been able to find was the one by Queen Sofia of Spain, who seems to be super hyped.
Y altruista para salvar a un joven del peligro de las drogas.
I guess some cartoons are gonna talk to you about drugs. I can't imagine this is really gonna help anyone, but whatever, we'll give it a shot. Cartoon All-Stars was animated by Wang Film Productions, who's involved with quite a few Disney animated series and had some experience with some of the other series featured here, like some TMNT 87, Garfield and Friends, and the Slimer segments from Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters. And for the most part, I think they did a really good job keeping all these characters looking like they just came straight out of their respective shows. There's some off-modelness in some areas, but given all the series getting smashed together here, I don't think that's all that unreasonable. Especially given the fact they had to make the animation for this in only 6 weeks, and the turnaround time for animation on a cartoon at this length was usually at least double that time.
Stay away from drugs and alcohol.
Or this dog's gonna get it!
To start off Cartoon All-Stars, we see one of the main characters, Corey, in a room full of licensed products. Though, if she has a real Winnie the Pooh doll, I don't know why she needs a knockoff one at the foot of her bed. And when she has so many actually good toys, I don't know why she wants the creepy poltergeist clown. Anyway, her brother Michael steals her piggy bank. Because he likes weed, that means he's also a thief. Yeah, they might be a little heavy-handed with their message in this sometimes. This is when a bunch of the characters start coming to life, like the Smurfs from their comic, Alf Out of a Picture, the Chipmunks from one of their albums, the Kermit Clock, and Garfield Was a Lamp. Wow, so Cartoon All-Stars was the original Toy Story.
Morning already? I was smurfing like a baby.
Gross. Maybe keep that one to yourself, Papa Smurf.
Great Smurfs! Corey's piggy bank is gone.
How does that work exactly? Is there always a giant hole in the Smurf sky to the real world? And what if the comic is closed? Would Papa Smurf see the other panels and possibly himself in the sky? Probably overthinking this a bit.
Yeah.